Hello, I'm Charlotte, Madeleine L'Engle's granddaughter, and I, along with my brother Edward Jones and sister Lena Roy, want to thank you all for coming. We're so happy you could be here, and there are even more of you tuning in via a live stream webcast. A very special shout out to all the teachers, librarians, and booksellers who are here or who are tuning in today and who keep books on the shelves and young people reading. And for continually recommending A Wrinkle in Time, which was very nearly never published and has been frequently challenged because some people think it's too difficult and strange for children. My grandmother would have loved this. She loved a party. And this 50th anniversary, let's call it a birthday, would have been very exciting for her. Some of her own birthday milestones were not so well celebrated. For her 40th birthday, before she wrote A Wrinkle in Time, she got a rejection letter. Yes, it was one in a long succession of rejection letters that caused her much despair. Leading up to her 50th birthday, she made the mistake of keeping quiet and not reminding people about the big day, thinking that surely folks would remember and make the appropriate fuss with a party and a day off from cooking and cleaning. Guess what happened? That's right, no one remembered. Instead, she cooked a lovely dinner by herself and ended up doing the dishes by herself, and the dog stole the leftovers. She never made that mistake again. Every year, as her birthday approached, she would remind people of the impending day. In 1988, when I was in college and living with her not too far from Symphony Space, we had frequent multi-generational dinner parties in her apartment and celebrated big and small things often that way. But for her 70th birthday, I wanted to do something special. We had a big party at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, where she was the librarian and writer-in-residence for many years. There was a band and more than 200 guests. She enjoyed it very much, but never wanted to do that again, which was a good thing. It would have been hard to top that birthday party. But luckily, she, like Mrs. Whatsit, was passionately fond of Russian caviar, and a small taste on her birthday with family and friends was enough to make her feel like her birthday was well marked, as long as someone else did the dishes. After all, birthdays, anniversaries, and celebrations are important. They are about marking the progress of time and our own perseverance. They are also about making and remaking our community, sharing experience and memories with people. It's something I think that's happening here today with the help of some amazing writers and guests. Again, thank you all for coming, and let's get the party started.
Hello, this is Madeleine L'Engle. A Wrinkle in Time is a book that almost never got published. I'd already had half a dozen books published, but this was a very different one, and nobody knew quite what it was or who it was for. And the general feeling was that it was much too hard for children. Well, my kids were 7, 10, and 12 while I was writing it, and at night I'd read them what I'd written during the day, and they'd say, "Oh, Mother, go back to the typewriter." So I knew kids could understand it. The problem is it's not too difficult for kids, it's too difficult for grown-ups. Too many grown-ups tend to put themselves into little rooms with windows that don't open and doors that are locked. And they want to close themselves off from any new ideas. And you're ready and open for new ideas and new things and new places and new excitements. So I hope you'll enjoy this book. I had a wonderful time writing it. It was a dark and stormy night. In her attic bedroom, Margaret Murray, wrapped in an old patchwork quilt, sat on the foot of her bed and watched the trees tossing in the frenzied lashing of the wind. Behind the trees, clouds scudded frantically across the sky. Every few moments, the moon ripped through them, creating wraith-like shadows that raced along the ground. The house shook. Wrapped in her quilt, Meg shook. She wasn't usually afraid of weather. It's not just the weather, she thought. It's the weather on top of everything else, on top of me, on top of Meg Murray doing everything wrong. School was all wrong. She'd been dropped down to the lowest section in her grade. That morning, one of her teachers had said crossly, "Really, Meg, I don't understand how a child with parents as brilliant as yours is supposed to be can be such a poor student. If you don't manage to do a little better, you'll have to stay back next year."
The Earth, with its fearful covering of dark shadow, swam out of view, and they moved rapidly through the Milky Way. Suddenly there was a great burst of light through the darkness. The light spread out, and where it touched the darkness disappeared. The light spread until the patch of dark thing had vanished, and there was only a gentle shining. And through the shining came the stars, clear and pure. Then, slowly, the shining dwindled until it too was gone, and there was nothing but stars and starlight. No shadows, no fear, only the stars and the pure darkness of space.